Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unstoppable Mumpreneurs Telesummit, where we have another amazing expert with us here tonight. I'm so excited. She's Lindsay the Swart, and I'll tell you a bit here about Lindsay. Now, Lindsay helps people who are frustrated and disillusioned with ordinary life to be more than ordinary. I love it. Every day, more than ordinary every day. She helps them to create a life they really want. Lindsay, thank you so much for being here and welcome again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm honored to have you here. So we're going to learn quite a bit more about Lindsay as we go through here, and I can't wait to get stuck in. So first of all, Lindsay, can you tell us a bit about your kids? You know, you're a mom, a mompreneur. That's a bit about your kids, your entrepreneurial journey, and what actually was the catalyst for you going into business on your own?
Sure thing. So I'm the mum of 3 kids. Okay. I have a 14-year-old son, 12-year-old son, and an 8-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And whilst I'm introducing them, actually the catalyst of why I went into business also rolls into that whole story. Excuse me. And that whole story is my husband has traveled a lot with his job. And as I'm married to him, I've traveled a lot with his job too.
Okay.
And I think after so first of all, we traveled to Sweden we are English. We traveled to Sweden for a job, and my husband's half Swedish, so that worked nicely. And I had my first son in Sweden.
Okay.
Then we knew that, and I was working for a big company then doing recruitment.
Okay.
Anyway, after having my first son, and I think that was about the whole 2000, there was a big dot-com crash, big economic change. And so we decided to go back to England because that's where all of our family were. We knew we wanted more kids, so we said, let's go back to England. It's kind of the safe house. So that's where we went. And when I was in England, I knew there was probably another move coming up. And I thought, I don't want to go back to corporate life because we were way out in the country and I knew I was going to have a long commute. And I just went, it's not what I want now. I'm a mum. I've got my first child. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do something that I love. What do I love? Now, I've always done sport. I've always done exercise. So I started training. I did my qualifications as a fitness trainer, as a personal trainer. And then, so I was doing that just in the local community. And then as it happened, I got pregnant with my second child. And so after having my second child, I then carried on my fitness instruction and started like a stroller fit class, like a buggy fit class. So I bought a buggy fit franchise and ran that locally, walking through beautiful National Trust properties and, all the mums pushing our strollers, doing our push-ups on the trees and all the rest of it. So that was pretty cool. And then after about 4 years of being in England, the job change came up again. And although actually saying that, no, it's a bit of a fib because we decided that the life that we'd created for ourselves in England was, it was great. It was very nice, very enjoyable. And we knew we wanted more. So we had kind of one of those get real conversations. One of those conversations that, if you really speak your heart, that what's about to hit the fan and change is going to happen.
Yes.
So we had one of those conversations, and a year later we moved to Canada. Which was cool.
Yeah.
And then I actually had my daughter in Canada. So I've had each of my children on a different continent.
Different country, yeah.
So, but that's really the journey as the mompreneur. I knew there was no way I was going back to corporate life. And so I needed to do something that I could do within the time frame of the day that I wanted to work. And I wanted to do something I enjoyed. I thought, what's the point of not doing something I enjoy?
Absolutely.
So that's really it. And so that's the journey as a mompreneur, and it's just evolved.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great. So you've been a mompreneur now for about 14 years or so?
Yeah, pretty much. Say 12. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. It's lovely journey there. So what were some of the challenges that you faced in the early days of starting your business?
I think the challenges that I faced were, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm.
I was very pleased that I bought into the franchise when I did, because that actually helped with a lot of the background knowledge and the marketing that you just would never have known. The biggest challenge really is the self-belief of, can I do this? Who am I to do this? If only I were X, Y, and Z better. If I had different bits of paper, then surely this would be easier. And in fact, it's not about any of that.
That's true.
No.
Never is.
So that's probably one of the biggest challenges, I'd say.
Yeah. Great. No, I hear that. I hear that indeed. And what are some of the challenges that come up for you now, 14, 13 years down the road? A bit more established, but I'm sure you still have a few.
Absolutely. So the challenges are accepting the changes, accepting that you have grown, and even if you face a problem, which we all still do, no matter how far down the road you are with a business, you will still face a problem that seems like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get around this? And with that comes, you have to keep acknowledging how far you've come.
Right. So when
I'd
you
say
say
that's it.
Okay. When you say accepting the changes, accepting how you've grown, can you give us an example of how that shows up for you?
Yeah. So for example, I was doing personal training, and then I kind of got frustrated that I was personal training mums, because I was focusing on mums at the time. I was personal training mums, and I kind of I could help them with their bodies, but I couldn't help them with their thoughts and what they were saying about themselves and kind of how negative they were being on themselves. And it kind of upset me, because I just thought, well, I can't help them as much as I want to help them. I feel like I'm scratching the surface. So I started training as a life coach. And so therefore I started a whole new business. And so when I say about the changes, that was the way that I wanted to go. That was the way that I engineered it to go. Yet basically I was starting from the beginning again. So that's when you think, oh, for goodness sakes, have I just made life really difficult for myself because I'm starting from the beginning again? But it was completely a natural progression. It's what I needed to do, because I wouldn't have been happy staying where I was. So I needed to make the change. And then when I made the change, I just went, seriously, I just made that change. And I think that's the thing. And the same thing, the business has evolved again since then, and evolved again. And one more time, I'm like, seriously? I've done it again.
and do you find it's a lot to do with perspective? How we view things. We view it as a challenge, or we view it as growth, or something to be accepted, as you've highlighted there in the beginning of that answer.
Yeah, I think it's very much about perspective. You're right. And it really becomes, you almost have to, even though it's your business, you are the business, you almost have to detach yourself from, oh my goodness, I'm not this, or I'm not that, or I'm never going to be able to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then you realize actually that you are still complete and whole and exactly the person that you are and that you've grown into be. And your business is just a small part of that. In times when you really challenge it, you can think, oh my goodness, but the business, it's me, therefore I am the business. And absolutely that's not the case, because you are so much more than you are able to convey in a business sense. And I think that's a transitioning going on, I would say, how open and honest we are able to be with our business. And we no longer have to wrap it in that kind of like that little professional coat because of, the way social media is, the way online video is. It's very easy to be real. For example, you're speaking to me from your house when you've just put your kids to bed, or you're about to put the kids to bed. I'm speaking to you from my house. I've got my video studio set up, in the corner of this big area. And as soon as we're finished speaking, I'm going to run off and pick up my kids.
Yeah. Mine is at brownies.
Oh, perfect. And what I love so much is
I hear you, yeah.
Neither of us have to hide that.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you've touched on some really, really powerful pieces here. And we'll remind our listeners, for those of you following us for the number of days now, you know the drill. Have your notepad and your pen. I always have mine, and I'm taking notes. Anyone who is just joining us for the first time, pauses between words, go grab your pen and paper and notepad, because there's always priceless nuggets here. And you spoke beautifully to the reality of what we do. We don't have to hide that. Working in the corporate world, even now, there is so much there is still a divide between work and home, and working in learning and development, as I did, organizational development. It was one of my bugbears. There is a very nice Band-Aid that reads on the outside, we've progressed in the corporate world, but unpeel that Band-Aid and it's still festering.
Yeah, totally.
Festering. We still have more to go, but we don't have to have those pretensions when we're running our own business. My daughter is at Brownies, and that will get us through this interview without her opening that door to have a little peek. She did it when we first had our chat. Thank God it wasn't being recorded. But no, and we don't have to hide that. It's part of who we are. I also loved, Lindsay, what you said about us as mompreneurs seeing our businesses as a part of us. I think in the early days, and perhaps even as we progress, if we're not careful, we can become consumed with it and pretty much have it define us. And I understand why that is the case. It is something that is a part of us. We birthed it, and we're very attached and protective and nurturing of what we're looking after, what we've created or birthed. I get that, but it's a caution there. It's that we have to take on board. I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I have to say, my perspective changed on that. I read an article, and it was, are you an artist or an entrepreneur? And that for me was a real shake-up of the dividing lines, because the artist loves their work. They outpour everything, all of their passion, all their feelings into their work. And an entrepreneur will make any business a business and make it profitable and see it as a business and kind of stands outside of it. And I think as a mompreneur, it's a very fine line between where we stand. And it varies day to day, quite frankly.
Not 2 days are the same. Very much so. So you've been working with moms for quite a while now. You pretty much, from your first buggy fitness business, your focus was moms. When we spoke recently, that's changed a bit recently, hasn't it?
It has changed.
Yes. But in the main, from starting point to now, much of your work has involved moms. So what do you see as the number one obstacle that holds mompreneurs in particular back? And what would you suggest to help them overcome that number one obstacle?
I'd say the biggest obstacle is juggling everything and thinking you have to do everything.
Hear you.
I mean, one of the best pieces of business advice I ever got was get a cleaner. And I did. And I cannot believe the difference it makes. And in case she's watching this as well, I love her and I'm so grateful for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your best business advice was to get a cleaner.
Yeah. And that was from somebody who was teaching absolute financial independence. And she said, I promise you, the best financial decision you will ever make is to start spending money on freeing up your time.
And it does make sense, because then you can focus on the things, where your energy is at, the things that are creative and help you to earn and help you to serve in a meaningful way.
And it also, though, stuff like that gives you time back with your family.
Absolutely. I got you there. Definitely get you there. So this one now, I call it the most controversial question on on the series, and I've loved every answer I've received for this. Do you, Lindsay, believe that any mom can become a holistically successful mompreneur?
I believe if it's within their desire to do it and they are prepared to go the distance, they can do it. There are so many different businesses that mums can set up and so many different structures that there is something out there for everybody. And there has to be a deep belief and a deep want within you to be able to go the course.
I hear you. I hear you. You know, it's the question that's you know, we've had outright no's, followed by very strong absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know, we've had yes and no, yes and no, and we've had yes. But
If
every single, that's right, in every single one of those, it was always a cautionary note, especially the yes and no and the yeses, if, but, you know, those two came up a lot. And they highlighted pretty much what you said here, all said differently. But, you know, it speaks to resilience. It speaks to, as you said, going the distance, that no matter what, focus as well. So yes, yeah, you've got to very clearly and very strongly want this.
Absolutely. If it's not coming from your heart and your soul, don't even put yourself and your family and friends through it.
Absolutely.
Because you will just become a nightmare. You will be like mum's nightmare. Nobody will want to spend time with you because you have got to want this.
I hear you. So true. So very true. I had one of the experts on the panel say, and it was nicely put as well. And she said, you know, it has to be your calling. And actually, she was one of the no's, you know, vehement no. And she said it has to be your calling. And, you know, it brought up that piece that we're all here to fulfill a specific purpose. I firmly believe that. We've got work to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that work might not be in being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It might be in something else where that's equally valuable, that's equally important, a service to render in this world. Yeah. Good
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah. So the piece now on work-life balance, because it's one of those terms that's been bandied around for years now. Yeah. And more recently, I've been hearing about the blend, you know, as another option. A few more options have come up on this panel as well, because they agree with neither. What's your position? Do you veer more towards work-life balance, or is it a blend, or is it something else for you?
Do you know what? Because I'm such a, let's say, fanatic of language and how you use language and the power it holds. I prefer to say blend than balance, because balance would potentially suggest that you are doing one against the other. And therefore they're in conflict. That's just my interpretation of, as I say balance, I literally see the scales. And so where you give to one, you take from the other. And also balance is such a temporary thing.
A temporary thing, yeah.
Balance it's always changing. That's why my hands on the video are going to look like huge hands.
No, that's fine.
It's going to look like comedy hands.
No, it does illustrate the point very, very perfectly.
Okay, so here's my hands for blend. That's blend.
Right, there we go. We got that.
Balance hands and blend hands. Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful illustration.
There you go. And so blend for me feels like it can work together.
Yeah. Good. All right. So your kids have pretty much seen you as, or have known you, have known mom as a mompreneur all their lives.
They have.
Yeah, yeah.
Poor souls.
So, what impact do you think that has had on your children?
Well, I love that question. Thank you for asking it.
Yeah.
I've been asked that question before, and I think it's a really interesting one because they see how I problem solve, and they see how even if a project has failed, or if a project is going absolutely, as the English say, pear-shaped, how I will, yes, some will really affect me and I'll get really upset about it. And then it's a question of, well, I've got to do something with it. I've got to move on. So they see that. They see how I take control of a situation. They also see how I have to let go of control on situations. So I think it's been helpful. The one thing I have to say I'm really, really proud of is that last year, maybe the year before, I don't know, I ran a workshop for entrepreneurs about how to start using video on your phone. And I ran a whole day's workshop, and I took my 2 sons out of school to be my helpers. So they had a day working as my professional backup crew. And so for them, I was like, this is a real day. We have all earned money doing this as a real job. You have changed the lives of people who are here attending. And you've been noticed for your natural talent. So one of them, like the older one, was there helping with all the technical stuff. The younger one was there actually taking snaps and taking videos, and then put together a video of the whole day, which I then used for marketing afterwards.
Fantastic.
And so at the time he was like, 10 probably?
Wow.
And he put together a marketing video and showed it to all of the attendees at the end of the day. And he just sat there whilst I was teaching. He sat there and he created this whole video, which is what our kids do.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping that they can see that their talents, their natural talents, and something they love doing can be how they earn a living. It's not one of those ones where we all wave goodbye to daddy and mummy, to go to work, and we drop them at childcare and say, bye, see you later. And they have no idea what we do. They know what we do.
That's right.
Yeah. Both my husband and I work from home. So I'm sure it's frustrating for them sometimes. They're just like, oh, you're working. And then it's also, yeah, but, if we were going away for a weekend, we can leave when we want to leave.
Yes.
And if you've got a school trip, I can be there for your school trip.
That flexibility.
Totally. So they see that. And it's really interesting. But my oldest son definitely is quite conventional in the fact that, he's with cadets. So he goes along with the whole sort of military organizing. And I will be intrigued to see whether he heads down a more conventional, office type of route.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side of him that is so unconventional that I don't know how that will pan out. So it's really interesting to sit back and say, you've seen both sides.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it?
And he'll decide. He will decide. He will definitely make a decision. You know that.
Of course, he has to.
From what you've shared, he's well equipped to make the decision that's best for him, because he's seen that there are options in this world.
Yeah. So the funniest thing though is because all of our kids are very talented on screen and online, but I asked him to do some work for me, because I said, actually, you've made yourself, because I taught him how to do his YouTube channel.
Right.
So I was like, okay, how many mums teach their kids how to make their YouTube channel? So that I was really proud of. I got major street cred. All the kids like, mum's cool, that's all right. But then he made a really good YouTube header. And I said, okay, can you make me a really good YouTube header? Because mine needs updating. And he thought about it for a bit and he was like, Mum, just go to Fiverr. I really don't want to do it. Like, problem solving, there you go.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting because, they are so technologically equipped, so advanced. I mean, even at 7, even when she was younger, the things they can do with your phone, the things they can do on their tablet, it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think she discovered yesterday that she could cut and paste onto a spreadsheet.
Yay!
She's super excited about it. So I'm like, how do you do that? She's so proud of herself. And I was of her too, of course.
Yeah, sure.
It's amazing what they can do and what they can figure out.
Yeah.
As well. But I never taught her that, and Dad never taught it to her. Just fiddled around and got it.
Yeah. They just figure it out.
Awesome, yeah. Awesome. And that's again learning problem solving, it's come up here time and time again on this interview series that our kids are watching us. They are watching us. And we're modeling whether or not we're aware of it, but we are.
Yeah. It's funny, actually. I don't know if we've got time, but there is a book that my daughter loves called You Choose. And it's the coolest book. And you go through the book and it's got pictures and it basically says choose. You can choose where you live, whether it's the city, whether it's the mountains, whether it's by the water. They've got all different scenes. So you choose where you live, you choose your clothes, you choose your pets, you choose your job, you choose what you do for fun, you choose your food, you choose your house, all the different pages.
Yeah.
And my mum bought it for my daughter, and it's my daughter's favourite book, and we must have done it hundreds of times. Hundreds. And the funny thing is, whenever we get to the job page, I always keep flipping between the what do you want to do for your job and what do you want to do for fun? And I keep flipping between the two, going, well, maybe you could, or maybe we should do this today. And, it maybe got like a photographer or something. So I said, well, is that for fun or is that your job? And a mountain climber, is that for fun or is that your job? So I just purposely keep flipping between the two, saying it's a blend.
It's a blend. It's a blend. It can definitely be both.
Yeah. So that one I have very consciously planted as a seed of it can be both. That is completely and utterly manipulative on my part, and I wholeheartedly
totally unapologetic about it. Good
exactly. I accept full responsibility for it.
Good stuff. So we're on to our final one now, Lindsay. What would you say is the number one habit, the number one strategy, and the number one insider secret that has enabled you to achieve and sustain the success that you've achieved and sustained in your business?
The number one habit, without question, is just keep getting back up. Just keep going. The tenacity. If you're not tenacious, you don't have the tenacity, just walk away. I would say is the habit. The strategy is, for goodness sake, get a coach. There have been times when I have had, times when I haven't had, and oh my God, I just wish I'd invested in the best coach I possibly could from the word go and gone with it.
Yeah. Makes all the difference, yeah. Go on.
Really wish I'd done that. And the last one, again, I love this because it's really made me think. This last one, I would say, never be fooled that what somebody is putting out there is their life, because it's totally not. It is one aspect of what they have created very carefully to put out there. They too will be working in their yoga pants. They too will have bad hair days. They too will look at social media some days and go, oh, seriously? Do I really have to come up with stuff for this? So that's the main thing. Do never be fooled by the front end of somebody's business, because you just don't know how chaotic the back end is. So never judge against that.
I think that is super, super powerful, because as you were saying it, Facebook came to mind for me, because it's it's a world now that's full of, I don't say this demeaningly, but it's a world that's full of Facebook personas.
Yeah.
And it's actually widely said as well. People walking, we see just the best of them on Facebook, and we think that's who they really are. Excuse me. And in this coaching industry, there's a lot of that as well. We, see the super coaches, sometimes called the gurus. I don't particularly ascribe to that term, but all super coaches, and you think, goodness, it must be so easy. They make it look so easy, and not all of them. Not all of them at all. I think there's just some of them, not at all. I think sometimes it's almost like peddling a bit of a myth that it's all cozy and cushy, and making money in your sleep happens with precious little effort and very much overnight, and it can be quite deceptive, especially to coaches just coming on board, getting distracted by all the shiny objects that they put out there. So I hear you, and it speaks also to comparing. Not judging, not comparing ourselves with others. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a powerful point. Thank you for sharing it.
You're so welcome. I mean, I really make a point of social media of getting photos up there with no makeup on, and also, straight out of the gym, pink, sweaty. It's, it's not pretty, but it's real.
Yeah.
And then when I'm doing an event, I make sure when I'm all dolled up and I've got my high heels on and, got gel in my hair and ready to go, I also make sure I'm posting those. Because that's the reality of being a mum today.
Yeah.
We cover every single spectrum. Or all aspects of the spectrum, as I say. So I've really made an absolute effort the whole way through to be showing every single aspect of that spectrum.
Good on you. And so it should be as well. I think people connect with that. People, it comes across as you being more authentic, more real, and more like them,
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Who wants to be seen as fake? Oh my goodness, who wants to be seen as two-dimensional?
Absolutely. I hear you. Another powerful one as well. Great.
Cool. Good. Excellent.
So we're at the end here now, Lindsay. You're going to go dash off and get your kids pretty soon.
Absolutely.
Yes. So can you tell our listeners about your free gift offer?
Absolutely. So in the 12 years that I've gone from personal training to life coaching, and then I went into technical training, training people, as lost a bit of self-confidence in there in the life coaching. But I've come back to life coaching because absolutely it's where I need to be. It's what I love. However, with that whole thing about being really real, there is a word that's bandied around a lot, and that's called extraordinary. And just like teaching somebody to be perfect, which you can't do, you also can't teach somebody to be extraordinary. Because just like perfect or just like extraordinary, when you are striving to be that, by the time you're there and extraordinary in other people's eyes, it doesn't feel extraordinary. So it's a complete judgment word as far as I'm concerned. So what I do is I say, I will teach you 5 steps to be more than ordinary. Because nobody wants to be ordinary, because ordinary is just a bit bleh. It's a bit bland, it's a bit vanilla, it's a bit boring. Nobody wants their whole life to be vanilla, do they really?
Seriously, yeah, that's true.
You've got to get the mocha chocolate latte in there somewhere.
Excited a bit.
Exactly. So my whole thing really is teaching you to be more than ordinary. And with that, I've created 5 steps, a 5-step system. And this 5-step system is the easiest way to build a very level platform for you to make any significant change in your life. So, for example, whether you want to run a marathon, whether you want to relocate your family, whether you want to redecorate a room in your house, it doesn't matter what it is. if you've got your sights set on a goal, going through these 5 steps that I have designed and outlined in this free PDF download, you will be able to go through that, and you will access your creative zone, you'll access the practical zone, you'll access all the people around you who might be telling you, I wouldn't, you must be crazy. And you'll learn how to deal with those people. And you'll also learn about, as I say, with the very practical aspects, like, you know, the time, the energy, the finance involved. You'll learn how to incorporate all of that. So by the time you actually get to like that jumping off point, all the boxes are ticked. And no longer does it feel like anything that's extraordinary. So that's what this 5-step system is all about. There is a free download at the link that you've got.
Yeah.
And then also I run a free Facebook group called Being More Than Ordinary Every Day.
Fantastic.
So if, and I run challenges pretty much twice a month in there.
Okay.
And those come with live coaching videos, worksheet downloads, Facebook streams from me, chat in the group. And it's a lovely supportive group to help you to achieve what it is, whatever it is you want to achieve. Come into that group and we will help you to get where you want to. Okay, so that Facebook group, it's a free group. It's called Being More Than Ordinary Every Day.
I love that.
And I would love for you to be able to come and join in the group. And it doesn't matter what your goal is. Nothing is too far-fetched. Come in and I will absolutely help you as much as I can to work through those 5 steps to get you where you want to be and to create the life you love.
Lovely, lovely. Very, very generous. I do love the fact that, you know, you have the 5 steps there, but they're not, you know, people who take up this offer, and it's a very generous offer. You're not doing it on your own. There is support from yourself and all the other members of your Facebook group, so you're not on your own. Amazing. I really do think it's an amazing offer, and I thank you very much for, you know, making it available to all.
You're so welcome. I just would love to say, if I can, I know we're a little bit short of time. This is not only for mums, though. With my coaching, and this is something that made me branch out from just working with mums, is there is something about the communication style that men really resonate with. And I think it's because it is very down to earth. It is very practical. It can be step by step as much as they need it to be, or it can be way out there, far-fetched, let's go extreme. And it seems to appeal to men just as much as it does women.
Fantastic. So any men listening to us, this is for you as well.
Absolutely.
And for the ladies who are listening, let the men in your lives know about this as well. Yeah.
Well, my husband always says, you've got so much fun, like so many fun women's groups. Can't I just come along? Sometimes I think he feels a bit left out because he doesn't have the same network that women create.
Yeah. And I really feel within me that's a whole other Telesummit. I really do. We in recent years, we've been having a lot of opportunities to talk about, we as women, what it is we want, what it is we don't want. And rightly so too. We've waited long enough for it. But there's a part of me that's been saying over and over again, but no one's asking men what they really want. And they've been societally trained to not say. Yeah, so that's a whole other Telesummit. Maybe we should get our heads together on that one, Lindsay.
Let's do that. That sounds fun.
Fantastic. It's been awesome chatting here with you. Thank you so much for all the priceless nuggets that you've shared very, very generously with our listeners and with myself. Really appreciate it. So we'll say goodbye to Lindsay. We'll say goodbye to our wonderful listeners. Thank you for coming back and stay with us. We've got more coming. Lindsay's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me and for the opportunity. It's such fun and I love what you're sharing. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye.